The New York Jets had some pretty high expectations when they managed to land Aaron Rodgers, and obviously last year he played 4 snaps and then his Achilles popped and he missed the entire season, leaving it up to Zach Wilson, and obviously it did not go well. They finished 7-10, but now this year he is healthy and back, and they have some pretty high expectations yet again. So far in real life they are 1-1, but let's see here in Madden 25 if I can't rebuild the Jets even past Aaron Rodgers. The offense is a little bit interesting. The offensive line actually looks pretty solid right here, and yes, I know Fashanu is a tackle. We're going to start him at guard just so he gets a little bit of playing time and can actually develop just a bit, because they did sign Tyron Smith, who is still a 94 overall superstar dev trait. There is really no reason for me to not use him. Now over on the defensive side of the ball, this is a very, very solid unit. Quinnen Williams is a 94 overall superstar dev trait. We need to get another defensive tackle to kind of pair with him. We still have Sauce Gardner, who is a 97 overall superstar X Factor. On the other side is DJ Reed, who's an 85 overall. Our safeties are a bit of a concern though. A 79 overall in Chuck Clark, and then a 73 overall in Tony Adams. Definitely something we might need to address during the offseason. And then at right outside linebacker, this guy's only a 70 overall, so another position we'll probably look to improve on. Following this season, Aaron Rodgers is either going to retire or his contract will expire, so we're going to be heavily scouting these couple quarterbacks here in Jimmy Sullivan and Anthony Gilmore, because no matter what, I think we're going to end up getting a new quarterback. The only custom setting I am changing here is the free agent motivation impact. I have moved to very high. One, I saw Mr. Hurricane do it, and I really like the way his free agencies ended up going. Pretty much, if they don't have a lot of interest in you, it's going to be really, really hard to land them, and I feel like that makes it a lot more realistic. On our season goal for the season, we are going to make it to win the Super Bowl. Now, I really don't think we're going to in this first season, but I feel like that's more realistic for what the Jets are probably looking at this year, since Aaron Rodgers is most likely in his final season. I only have 3 of these extra training spots right now, and we're going to use them on Fashanu, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. Fashanu just because he is the only hidden dev rookie that I actually have on this roster, and then Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall I think are still both young enough we can throw them in here to try to get them a little bit better throughout this season. And I just tried to simulate the very first week of the season and the entire game crashes, so that's fun. Well, the very first game did not go exactly to plan. We lose 42-36, so we at least put up a fight. Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Brock Purdy threw the same exact thing, except for Rodgers had 300 yards compared to his 239. How did we do on the ground? Not very well. Breece Hall only 2.8 yards a carry, while Christian McCaffrey completely gashed us. And then receiving, Garrett Wilson 6 for 97, Debo got a couple touchdowns, and Tyler Conklin caught a touchdown. Alright, I have now simulated a few more weeks into the season. We would lose in week 2, 13-17 to Tennessee, but then we came back to get our first win of the season, 38-30 against New England, and then we won 31-10 against Denver. So as of right now, we are undefeated at home, but winless on the road. Before we go too much farther into the season, I do want to look at some of these contracts that are coming up to see if there's anyone I want to re-sign in the middle of the year. And I think DJ Reed's going to be a good candidate. 27 years old, 86 overall, a star dev trait. Wants a 3-year offer. Let's see if we can get that done, and he will be re-signing. I guess in order to replicate his holdout, they have Hassan Reddick on IR. I can remove him from IR, but in order to do that, I think I want to try to give him a brand new contract, just so we can actually get that agreed upon. And he's already 29 years old. How about a 2-year offer? We will up the money just a bit because we're probably going to go to a rookie quarterback after this season. So will he take this 2-year deal? And he could find a better team in free agency that will match his current offer. All right then, I have an idea. We're going to come back over to this screen, remove him from IR, and attempt to trade him away because I don't really think that we need to deal with this. I'm not going to take this trade offer, but it is pretty funny that this is an offer that we could send Hassan Reddick back to Philadelphia, and in exchange, we would get Bryce Huff back in New York and a 4th and a 7th round pick. Like I said, I'm not going to take that one because I don't think it's super realistic. If that trade ends up happening in real life by the time this goes up, I don't really know what to say. But we are going to be sending Hassan Reddick to the NFC East. I have agreed with a trade with the Dallas Cowboys to pick up a 2nd and a 4th rounder in the next draft in exchange for Hassan Reddick. Now, I know Philadelphia got a bit less in their trade when they got rid of Hassan Reddick to the New York Jets, but honestly, if I could do conditional picks like Philadelphia and New York actually have on that, I would, but unfortunately, I just can't do that in Madden, so that's going to be the trade that we stick with. And at the end of the season, we will have the 5th-year options to accept on Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson. As of right now, I'm definitely going to be accepting the option on these guys, but I do not know about Jermaine Johnson just yet. It's a most likely, but we'll see exactly how well this season plays out. Alright, now about halfway through the season, we were sitting at 5-3 following a 4-game win streak before the Steelers thumped us 35-10, but then we came back with a nice win against the Patriots 24-3. But even with a 5-3 record, right now we are listed as the 6th seed, I believe is the way this is laid out, because Buffalo is 6-2 and Miami is 6-1 so far. We have finally reached our bye week here at week 12, and following that win against the Patriots, we would lose to the 7-1 Texans at the time, so obviously they are a really good team, but we lost 23-29. Then we came back and beat the Cardinals 31-23, and we got a close win against Indianapolis, but now we can finally rest for a week. We are about a third of the way through the season so far, and Aaron Rodgers has 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, so not a great season, but not a horrible season either. Running the ball, Breece Hall has 600 yards and 9 touchdowns. And then receiving, Garrett Wilson is our best one, not a shock really. 62 catches, 795 yards, and 6 scores. Allen Lazard has 6 touchdowns, and Mike Williams also has 6 touchdowns. Let's see how the rest of this season played out. So we had our bye week, and then we got a win against Seattle, a win against Miami, but then we dropped 3 straight games. A couple of them just flat out blown out. 37-13 against Jacksonville, and then 41-14 against the Rams. Then we would lose to Buffalo. We did finish the season out with a win, so we finished this year 10-7. Is that good enough for a playoff spot? Unfortunately, it does not. 10-7 does not find the playoffs. We finish as the 8th seed if it goes out that far. Jacksonville actually gets the 7th seed, so that game that they beat us ultimately came down to matter who was getting into the playoffs. I don't really know what happened to Aaron Rodgers in the back third of the season, but he threw 14 interceptions in those last few games. That is insane. He only had 10 picks the last time we checked, which was like week 12. So in those last few games, he apparently just went crazy with the turnovers. Running the ball, Breece Hall goes for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Receiving, Garrett Wilson, 1,100 yards and 8 scores. Allen Lazard got 9 touchdowns. Mike Williams got 7, and Tyler Conklin came away with 7. What about defense? I did not check that at the, 2/3 of the way through point. CJ Mosley, 120 tackles. What about sacks? It looks like Quinnen Williams got 9. Jermaine Johnson got 9. So we may be, taking that 5th-year option on him. And then interceptions, we got several. CJ Mosley got 3. Michael Carter got 3. DJ Reed got 3. Sauce got 2. And then Chuck Clark, Quincy Williams, Ashton Davis, and Brandon Echols all got 1. We are going to take this opportunity and fire both our offensive and defensive coordinator because neither one of them fit the schemes that I have set for the Jets. Offensive coordinator Wade Briggs doesn't really fit our offensive scheme either, but he does have the quarterback guru tab, which is the main thing I was looking for in an OC. And the defensive coordinator we will be bringing in is DC Josh Morton, who does have the defensive scheme that we actually are running here with the Cleveland playbook. I am running, I believe, the Browns playbook, but I still wanted that base 4-3 defensive scheme. And because we have now done all of that, we can actually go ahead and just upgrade this all the way and get all 6 of those weekly training slots so we can hopefully get some rookies and get them to be a lot better. We can also get this so everyone levels up or gains experience like they are a scheme fit. The first Super Bowl in this rebuild goes to the Baltimore Ravens, who win 24-23 over the Dallas Cowboys, led by Super Bowl MVP Lamar Jackson. And Patrick Mahomes wins the NFL MVP award, along with Rashee Rice winning Offensive Player of the Year. So apparently that offense is still pretty broken in this. And we have a quarterback that has retired, but it is Tyrod Taylor, not Aaron Rodgers. So he is still going to be in the league next season. The very first thing we are doing is taking the 5th-year option on Sauce Gardner, rolling over here to Garrett Wilson. We're going to go ahead and take that one as well. And then where did Jermaine Johnson go? We're going to take that 5th-year option as well. After I saw the 9-sack season, I was going to take that 5th-year option anyway, but he also upped himself to a superstar dev trait, which is going to be massive for us. We are going to try to bring back Chuck Clark on a 1-year deal just in case we cannot get another safety to kind of fill that void. So let's see if he takes this 1-year offer, and yes, he will. From here, I'm going to let everyone else walk into free agency, and I'm going to assume I was wrong about Aaron Rodgers' contract expiring at the end of the first season of this, because he is not here. I probably should have caught that earlier when I was looking through contracts, but we may have to get rid of him because I am definitely not going to roll with him next season. Yep, that is definitely on me. I did not realize that his contract went all the way to 2025. I thought it just went to the end of this season. So we'll definitely look to somehow move him in the offseason or cut him entirely because like I just said, I don't want to roll with him into next year. There are apparently a few teams interested in him here. The Titans really intrigues me, offering Calvin Ridley, but I don't really know if I want to take that deal just yet. So I guess we'll go look at the Titans roster and see if I can just get some draft picks for him. And I will gladly take this trade. We send Rodgers over to Tennessee and our first round pick this year. In exchange, we get their first round pick. So we move from 18 all the way up to 9. We also pick up a 4th rounder this year and a 3rd rounder next year. Now for the fun part of where I get to introduce a bunch of new players that I just got because of that extra cap space in the Aaron Rodgers trade. Tommy Tremble, who is a 71 overall tight end, just in case we cannot find a better one in the draft. He should be a serviceable starter, hopefully. I also signed quarterback Desmond Ridder, a 72 overall, 26 years old, but he is a star depth trait. Just in case both of those quarterbacks in the draft are complete garbage, Ridder can start for us for at least one season. Then we signed Kendrick Green, defensive tackle DJ Jones, wide receiver McCole Hardman, and then these two big splashes in free agency, Chase Young, who is an 87 overall superstar depth trait, and Javon Holland, who is an 88 overall, 25 years old with a star depth trait. It is now finally time to take a look at these two quarterbacks to figure out which one would be the better draft pick. And just looking at accuracy right here, it looks like Anthony Gilmore would be the better pick, and he also has A awareness compared to Jimmy Sullivan, who only has a B awareness. Throwing the run's a little bit better for Gilmore. Throw under pressure, though, goes to Sullivan. Break sack goes to Sullivan. Play action's even. And then none of the rest of this really matters for quarterbacks. What about their physical attributes here? And that is going to be acceleration, not really that important. That's not what I want. I want the pro day. So 4.65 for Gilmore, a 4.81 for Sullivan. So Gilmore's a little bit faster. Sullivan, a 4.81 isn't bad. It's not obviously a burner at quarterback, but that's not going to be his main trait as a strong arm player. Looking at the final mock draft, though, they do not have Gilmore or Sullivan falling down to us. We are all the way down here at 9. So we would need to move up to 5 or 6 for one of these quarterbacks, and it may be pretty expensive to do that. So actually looking at their player cards, you can see some of the traits they have here. Beautiful spiral on all of his passes, stands tall in the pocket, and always aware of pressure. Does well to avoid sacks by throwing the ball away. Plays well within and outside of the pocket. And then can I look at the other guy? Okay, last year we had the option to scroll to the next guy while looking at the draft card. I would love if they brought that back. But Sullivan gets happy feet and feels non-existent pressure. Does well to avoid sacks though. Vast majority of his success comes well in the pocket. And then a compact, fast traditional motion. I would say after reading the traits, I think the better quarterback is going to be Anthony Gilmore. So I guess we need to see if we can trade up at all. I have jumped ahead to the 4th pick of the draft, and because the Giants and the Rams are both mocked quarterbacks, I really don't agree with trading at pick 5 or 6. I think it would make a lot more sense if you tried to trade up and jump them, which is what we're going to do with Cleveland here to see if we can land that 4th overall pick. I highly doubt I'm going to take any of these from the get offers button, but let's just take a look at them. You are not getting Sauce Gardner. This would be 2 first-round picks and a 2nd, a 6th, and a 7th. That one's actually not too bad. This will be our first-round pick in a couple years, a 2nd-round pick for the next 3 years, and then a couple 3rd-round picks, and then this is Quinnen Williams. All right, so you're not getting Quinnen Williams or Sauce Gardner. I don't know if I want to give up that many 2nd-round picks, but I do like the idea of keeping that 9th overall pick, even though I don't think it's super realistic. So I think what we're going to do is take this trade. We won't have a 1st-round pick next year or a 7th-round pick next year, but, I don't feel like that's too much to move up from 9 to 4. But with all of that taken care of now, welcome to New York, quarterback Anthony Gilmore. An A on the scouting report. This thing is a little bit glitchy sometimes whenever it's going through everything. And Anthony Gilmore was ranked number 30 in true value. We drafted him at 4, but he is a quarterback, so I feel like they kind of always go a little bit earlier. And he is a hidden dev trait. We still have a 2nd-round pick in this draft, and we're going to use it on tight end Caleb Cassidy out of Ole Miss. With great speed, great acceleration, you can see all of his attributes here. I think he's going to be a pretty good weapon for us. And he was taken about where he was supposed to go, 52 in true value, and we took him at number 50. He will have a normal dev trait though, which really does suck. I honestly thought it was going to be a hidden dev. Now, in the third round, we're going to see if we can make up for that pick by taking left guard Quentin Costello out of Notre Dame. A awareness, A impact block, B pass block, B run block. And Costello will be, let's see, 53 in true value, and he will be a hidden dev trait. And just a few picks later, we have another one in the third round. It is pick number 18. We're going to take a middle linebacker, Chuck Morse out of Louisville, and we're going to see if he's also going to come in with a hidden dev trait. Skip past this, and it will be a normal dev trait, but it does have 91 speed. I think I ended up with a pretty solid class to start this. Anthony Gilmore is a 75 overall with the hidden dev trait. I think he is going to be a really, really solid player. However, the best player in the draft was Warren Woodley, a receiver out of Tennessee, who is an 82 overall. But what I want to see is how good that other quarterback was, and he ended up falling all the way to the Rams. He is also going to be a 75 overall. Is he a hidden dev trait as well? No, he is not. So we could have theoretically traded up for a normal dev trait, and that would have probably pissed me off. I am going to be bringing in a couple of veteran guys just to fill some holes that we have, like right tackle. So I'm going to sign left tackle DJ Humphries and make him go play over on the right side. We are also going to be signing outside linebacker Zach Cunningham to make him play left outside linebacker because I really didn't address that in the offseason, and that may come back to bite me. We are also going to need a mentor quarterback just so our rookie gains a little bit more experience every week, and we're going to go ahead and sign Andy Dalton for that role. And the final guy we're going to be signing, or at least that I will make the decision, the computer might sign a few more players just to fill out the roster, but we are going to be bringing in wide receiver Bo Melton just because our receiver room is looking pretty weak right now. This will be your starting offense for season 2 of this rebuild, and honestly, we may take a step back just because we have switched to a rookie quarterback. We lost Mike Williams, who I didn't even try to bring back in free agency. We brought in McCole Hardman just because he's really fast. I understand his first stint in New York really didn't work out that well, but I think this one's going to work out a little bit better. Now on defense, we added 2 very, very massive pieces, aside from the fact that apparently we got 2 hidden dev corners. Past the third round, I just let the computer draft, so I don't even see what these guys' dev traits are, but it ended up taking 2 hidden dev corners, so I guess that's really good. But anyway, the big additions we got to the defense are defensive end Chase Young, and then safety Javon Holland. So hopefully our defense is a little bit better this year, and we can make it to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, because that is what we will be setting as our season goal, to make the playoffs. Now that we have all 6 of the weekly training spots available, here are the 6 we will be using. Obviously, Anthony Gilmore and Quentin Costello, 2 of our first draft picks. Caleb Cassidy, our second round pick, is also going to be here, even though he has a normal dev trait, along with Cassius Harrell, a receiver that we took, and Chuck Morse, the middle linebacker. But then I added Garrett Wilson back here just because he's only 25 years old, 88 overall. I think we could possibly get him up to a 90 plus this season. Unfortunately, our first game of the season did not go our way. We lose 31-24, and Gilmore looked like he may have struggled. 274 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions as we fall to Justin Fields and the Steelers. But our next game of the season goes a little bit better, I would say. We get the win 52-17, and Anthony Gilmore threw no touchdowns because it looks like he got hurt and Desmond Ridder came into the game and threw a couple scores. But Drake May threw 4 interceptions. I would say that was probably the cause of them losing. Running the ball, Breece Hall got 145 yards and 2 scores. So yeah, and Desmond Ridder even ran in for 1. So he ended up with 3 total touchdowns. Checking out our injury report though, Anthony Gilbert is not here, so he should be good to go. We do need to negotiate some contracts here, so let's go ahead and start with running back Breece Hall. He wants a 4-year deal. I am fine with that. Will he take this deal? Yes, he will. So he is easy to re-sign. Next up is going to be offensive guard Elijah Vera Tucker. We're going to go and offer him a 3-year deal. Will he take that? Yes, he will. So we land the 2 main pieces we need to re-sign this year. Alright, a few more games into the season. We are now at our bye week, and we apparently ripped off 3 straight wins at one point this year, and now we've been alternating between losing and winning. Couple close games, then we lost to Tampa Bay by 11, and then we beat Carolina by 10. But now at our bye week, we are sitting at 5-3, which I feel like we could be doing a lot worse with a rookie quarterback. That rookie quarterback has thrown about 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, but 7 interceptions. So I'd love to see him take care of the ball a little bit more throughout the rest of this year. Let's see how well we're running the ball. Breece Hall, 591 yards and 6 scores. And then receiving, McCole Hardman leading our team in yards with 528, but Alan Lazard has the most touchdowns with 5. following our bye week, we would come out with a fantastic win against Atlanta, 55-17. But right now, we are on a 3-game losing streak, so we have fallen to 6-6 on the year. And I was going to come over here and see where we are in the divisional standings, but obviously we are going to be behind the 9-3 Bills right now. Yeah, we are currently the 11th seed in the playoffs, so I don't really know if we're going to be able to make a playoff run this season. We would be able to slightly turn it around following that loss to Kansas City. We get a win against Buffalo, a win against Cincinnati, but then we lose to Dallas. We beat Cleveland, and then we lose to the Dolphins. So we're going to finish this year 9-8, and I highly doubt that gets us into the playoffs. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, though. We end up as the 8th seed for the 2nd year in a row. So we are just on the cusp of getting to the NFL playoffs, so maybe next season we can pull it off. This year, Gilmore finishes his rookie year with over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Running the ball, Breece Hall had a fantastic year, 1,100 yards and 15 scores. And then receiving, Allen Lazard had a breakout year, 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. Mecole Hardman caught 4 touchdowns, Garrett Wilson caught 3, and then Caleb Cassidy, our rookie tight end, came away with 4 as well. What about defense? Tackling is going to go to CJ Mosley. In sacks, we got 12 from Quinnen Williams, 11.5 from Chase Young, 4.5 from Jermaine Johnson, so he takes a step back just a bit. But Sauce Gardner comes away with 8 interceptions on the season. Michael Carter got 3, Quincy Williams got 3, Javon Holland got 3, and then Chuck Clark and DJ Reed both came away with 2, and Lewis Seaton got 1. Unfortunately for us, though, Tyreek Gordon, who I believe was a wide receiver, ends up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC. Anthony Gilmore does not get it. And then the second Super Bowl in this franchise rebuild goes to the Dallas Cowboys, who last season lost the Super Bowl by 1 point. This year they get there and beat Jacksonville 35-32, led by Dak Prescott. The NFL MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes, Coach of the Year is Andy Reid, Offensive Player of the Year is Lamar Jackson, and you can see all the other awards. While re-signing contracts, we are going to offer another 1-year deal to Chuck Clark, once again, just in case there's no one in free agency or the draft that is any better, just so we have a serviceable player back there. Well, I would love to bring back Quincy Williams, but he doesn't have any interest in coming here because of our career win percentage. How about we offer a player-friendly deal of 3 years? Will you come back for that? No, he won't. So we will need a new right outside linebacker. I came to take a look at our roster before I really jump into free agency, and I want to know how Allen Lazard did not get at least a star dev trade upgrade after the season he just had. The free agents I managed to bring in this year were Del'Shawn Phillips at left outside linebacker, Trevor Penning at right tackle, Alex Anzalone at right outside linebacker. I brought in Rondale Moore at receiver, DJ Reader at defensive tackle, and then on a 1-year contract that I had to really overpay on, tight end Travis Kelce at an 88 overall with a superstar X Factor dev trait. I am going to really hope this does not backfire on me. And just to recap, because I didn't notice it, CJ Mosley has retired. So right now it looks like Chuck Morse, the guy we drafted last year, will be our starting middle linebacker unless we find a better one in the draft. A quick reminder before we jump into this draft, we have no first round pick this year. It was part of the deal to trade up and get our franchise quarterback, so we will not pick until the 2nd round. And now with that 2nd round pick, we're going to take outside linebacker Clint Brenner out of South Carolina, and let's see what this is actually going to show up as. He was ranked 62 and we drafted him at number 50, and he's a normal depth trait because of course he is. This draft class is not going to be a great one, I feel like, but we are going to take outside linebacker Kamani Cheeks, and we're going to hope that he is not Cheeks here. Let's see what he's going to rank in at, and I want to scroll past this. 134 in true value. We drafted him at 91, and another normal depth trait. So yeah, don't expect this draft class to really help me in this rebuild all that much. Yeah, let's just add on to exactly what I just said, because the best player we got is a 72 overall outside linebacker, so he's going to be okay. But the other one is a 68 overall, so he is not really going to be good at all. We got a 70 overall receiver, a 65 overall defensive tackle, a 70 overall running back, and a 65 overall defensive end. And then the best player in the draft ends up going number 1 overall, an 81 overall quarterback selected by the Cleveland Browns. The obvious massive addition on offense for season 3 is tight end Travis Kelce, who is probably in his last couple years, if not his final year in the league, just trying to ring chase, and he kind of picked a team that hadn't made the playoffs in the last couple of years, so hopefully it pans out for him. And I am not even going to lie to you guys, I think the defense may have honestly gotten worse, especially since CJ Mosley retired, and we just kind of have a bunch of mid here at our linebacking unit, so hopefully that doesn't, really derail this team. As much as I would love to go in and set a season goal, the game is not letting me do that. I've now clicked it twice, it has completely crashed twice, so we're just not going to click that again. And this is the best start we have had in this entire rebuild so far. We have scored at least 30 points in every single game as we are off to a 4-0 start. Well, we unfortunately did not get to keep our undefeated season going, but we are, however, 8-2 right now, 10 games into the year. But Buffalo is 10-1, so they are still winning the division currently. Jumping a bit farther ahead into the season, we would get that win against Houston, and right now we are on a 7-game winning streak, starting here at week 9 where we beat the Dolphins. Then we took down the Packers, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Dolphins, the Chargers, and the Vikings. So yeah, this is a current 7-game win streak, and now we get to take on the Buffalo Bills, and that is important for one reason. You saw their record just a second ago at 10-1. We are currently both 12-2, getting ready to go to the playoffs. So this game could decide who is going to win the division. So let's go ahead and simulate this live, get my reaction, and hopefully we can get a win. We lost 38-21, so we're still probably going to make the playoffs, but unfortunately we are not going to win the division, I don't think. We end up losing both matchups against the Bills. The first one was our first loss of the year, 24-28. The Patriots were the other team to beat us this year. And then after we lost to the Bills, we would come back to beat the Bears and then lose to the Chiefs 22-28. So we are in the playoffs at 13-4, but we did not win the division. And what a second season from Anthony Gilmore. Almost 4,400 yards, 38 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Breece Hall runs for 1,300 yards and 13 scores. And then receiving, Rondale Moore, 11 touchdowns and 1,100 yards. Mecole Hardman, 12 touchdowns and over 1,000. Garrett Wilson with 6 touchdowns, Travis Kelce with only 5 touchdowns on the year, but clearly it made something on the offense click. Breece Hall got 3 receiving touchdowns. Who led the team in tackles? That is going to be Alex Anzalone. In sacks, we got 10 from Chase Young, 9.5 from Quinnen Williams, 6.5 from DJ Reader, and then interceptions, Sauce Gardner came away with 5 and Javon Holland got 2. Here is how the entire playoff bracket is set up. We will get to take on the 4-seed Cincinnati Bengals. And it will be our only playoff game this year as we lose an absolute shootout to Cincinnati, 49-45. I went in and super simmed the whole game, and yeah, that was just an insane score to see here in the playoffs. Anthony Gilmore threw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns in this game, so I think we have a pretty bright future to look forward to. I would say this is not much of a shock here that Buffalo ends up winning the Super Bowl 38-13, so they finally capture their first ever Super Bowl, and honestly it doesn't surprise me just because of how good of a team we were and they beat us both times. And as I think probably all of us expected, Travis Kelce retires after this season, so we unfortunately cannot send him out on top. Before we jump into the offseason here, I want to add a quick editor's note. So I recorded this video over 2 days. And right here is where I started the second day of recording, and for whatever reason, my audio got slightly messed up for like the next 3.5 minutes. I thought I was going to have to throw away the entire recording, but for whatever reason, it's just this section. So I'm going to put a timestamp in the description where you can skip this audio if you want. I left it in just so you can kind of hear my thoughts on the whole offseason, but in case you do skip it, I will go over what we did. It mostly just happened in the re-signing part. So we were able to re-sign Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and I brought back Chuck Clark. We took the 5th-year option on Fashanu, and then the last thing I did is I traded away defensive back Michael Carter to the LA Rams. We also traded a 5th-round pick. In exchange, we got the 36th overall pick in the 2nd round. So if you don't want to sit through some bad audio on my part, I still don't know what happened, you can skip right until the end of free agency. Well, it looks like the first contract we get to negotiate this offseason is going to be Sauce Gardner, and obviously this is going to be a really big contract. Let's just go player friendly. I don't want to risk losing him at all. 99 overall, superstar X Factor, has about mid-level interest in coming back. Please return, and yes, he will re-sign. We have a 5th-year option on Fashanu, who apparently does not want to come back because he has no re-sign interest, but you really don't get a choice yet, so we're going to go ahead and accept that 5th-year option. This is just going to be a ridiculously expensive offseason because we still have Jermaine Johnson and Garrett Wilson as well. I would obviously love to bring both of them back. Let's offer this 4-year deal, and Garrett Wilson will be returning, which is a good thing, obviously, for us. Now, what about Jermaine Johnson? A 3-year contract, it would knock us down to about $32 million left in cap. We'll go ahead and do that, and he is also going to re-sign, so we don't lose anybody so far. But to be honest, everybody else here, you know what? Just because I've done it the entire video, let's give Chuck Clark like a cheap 1-year deal, just in case, once again, I can't find anybody like I have in the last few seasons to actually replace him. But everyone else is going to leave, including starting center Joe Tippmann. So that may be a problem. We will definitely need to address that. Looking at our lineup right now, and it looks like our quarterback right now is a 96 overall. It does say he has +7 right now from morale and a temporary boost. So he's base an 89 overall. I was really thinking he would go to a superstar dev trait after his last season, but I guess not. And I would say we really need a center and probably a tight end, because I don't think this guy that I took, I think back in the first offseason, is really going to pan out that well. Over on defense, though, we have a lot of really nice pieces, including the guy that just got massively paid, Sauce Gardner. Jermaine Johnson is a superstar dev trait. Quinnen Williams and Chase Young are both superstar X factors. We're going to need another defensive tackle and then probably some new linebackers, because I don't think this is really going to cut it, even though we were pretty good last year. And then obviously I still need to look at safety that I have failed to replace the last 3 seasons. This may not end up being a very... I'm not really sure how Jets fans feel about Michael Carter, but right now in this universe, he's an 82 overall, 28 years old, and getting rid of him would save $11 million in cap, so we're going to see if anyone's willing to trade for him. We actually get a ton of trade offers for him, but I don't want a player. I would rather just take draft picks back, unless it's like a young player with a decent dev trade or something like that. Like there was an 81 overall tackle there, but he's like 33 years old. Yeah, Taylor Moton, 33 years old, 81 overall star dev trade. And the cap hit would actually be even bigger than Carter's, so that's not really what I'm trying to do. Looking around the league, and the Rams corner situation is absolutely abysmal. Their top corner is a 78 overall. Let's see if we can work out a trade with the Los Angeles Rams here. There's no possible way we could get a first-round pick. You know what? I'll go ahead and throw it. I'll just throw crap at the wall, see if it's going to stick here. And no, nowhere close to it. All right, how about a second-round pick? We'll see if they come any closer there. That is actually incredibly close. So let me go in here. We'll pick up an early second-round pick, and we'll trade Michael Carter and a 5th-round pick. And that is going to get the trade done. Even with that move, I really didn't have the ability to go after any big name free agents, but we did manage to land a few of them. We got defensive end Logan Lee, safety Jordan Whitehead, outside linebacker Henry, I don't want to try to say that name, middle linebacker Drew Sanders, center Tyler Biadish, and then corner Marcus Jones. And we got him for like $5 million a year instead of an $11 million cap hit that Michael Carter was going to be, so I'm fine with that trade-off. Now at the NFL draft, we have pick number 24, and I am looking at outside linebacker Dalton Amos out of USC. 22 years old, B to D block shedding, A to C pursuit, A to C tackle, B zone coverage, elite speed, great acceleration, A hit power. I really am going to hope that this guy is going to be decent for us. So Amos, please come in with a solid rating. And a hidden dev trait? No, it's going to be normal, because I cannot draft in this rebuild apparently. At the beginning of the second round, we're going to take defensive tackle Morgan Stewart out of Notre Dame. He is going to have C awareness, which probably means he's going to be a normal dev trait, but I think all of his other ratings are pretty solid. So Morgan Stewart, welcome to the Jets, and 78 in true value, drafted him at 36, but it is a hidden dev trait, so I guess we at least have that. I know I brought in a middle linebacker in free agency, but how about middle linebacker Aaron Gardner here at the end of the second round with pick number 24, also out of Notre Dame. B block shed, C pursuit, B tackle, B zone coverage, A awareness, B play rec, runs a 4.45 and a 4.39 40. Aaron Gardner, you are coming to New York, and I'm going to really hope that you are good. 27 in true value, drafted him at 56, and he is a hidden dev trait, a middle linebacker with 91 speed. Now in the third round of the draft at pick number 24, wide receiver Chandler Heller out of Florida State. Projected to go in rounds 3 to 4, but with a round 1 talent grade, B catching traffic, A catching, F deep route, and F release, which is not great obviously, but does have A short route, C awareness, good speed, great acceleration. We're just going to take the risk on this kid, and he is going to come in as the number 22 ranked in true value, but something tells me he may end up being a normal depth trait, and he is, but he does have 92 speed, which is good to start with. Dalton Amos may be a normal depth trait, but does come in as a 74 overall. Morgan Stewart's a 71 overall defensive tackle, Gardner's a 74 overall middle linebacker, and then Heller is a 74 overall receiver. Obviously, as I've stated earlier in the video, I then let the computer take over. They took a 66 overall safety, a 68 overall safety, and a 64 overall left tackle. For the second year in a row, the number 1 player in the draft goes at pick number 1. This time it was a 79 overall right tackle that New England selected. This will be your starting offense for Season 4 of this rebuild, and really the only changes are we no longer have Joe Tippmann at center, and Travis Kelce retired, so it moves Cassidy back to be our starting tight end, though he is now an 80 overall, so maybe he could actually do something for us. Over on the defensive side of the ball, Morgan Stewart will be our starting second defensive tackle just behind Quinnen Williams, and Drew Sanders will be our starting middle linebacker because I moved Gardner over to left outside linebacker, so we're just going to try to ignore that I drafted this dude in the first round, and he's probably not going to do much. I am going to try to develop him just a bit though, because he is one of my focus players. The rest are Aaron Gardner, Chandler Heller, Harold Brown, who is a backup safety that we ended up drafting apparently, that is a hidden depth trait, Morgan Stewart, and then I put Anthony Gilmore here, and the only other change that I made is I cut Desmond Ridder and signed Kirk Cousins to be a mentor backup, so he will go back to earning just a little bit more experience. Well, we kicked this season off on the bad foot, losing to New England 35-14, but since then we have not lost a game, so we are currently sitting at 5-1. And let's see how everyone's doing so far through 6 games on the season. Anthony Gilmore, 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. On the ground, Breece Hall has 9 rushing touchdowns so far. And receiving, our leading receiver is Caleb Cassidy, the tight end, with 407 yards and 40 receptions. But touchdowns goes to Rondale Moore, who so far has 4. And obviously it is still really early in the season, but as of right now, we are leading our division and are currently listed as the 1 seed. There are at least a couple contracts I want to get done before we go too much farther into the season, starting with defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. He only wants a 2-year deal, I am fine with that, and he needs more time to think it over. Well, that's not exactly what we wanted to see there. What about Chase Young? Can we at least get your deal done? A 3-year deal, 90 overall, superstar X Factor, only 28 years old, and he will be re-signing. I also just want to get this deal out of the way and re-sign DJ Reed on a 1-year deal, and he will be returning as well. Just so I don't have to worry about it in the offseason, how about a 1-year deal for Marcus Jones, just a 1-year extension, and he will also be coming back. Alright, we go through and pay everybody, and then immediately lose to Baltimore 31-21, but I want to go back into contract negotiations, and I want to go ahead and negotiate this deal again with Quinnen Williams, a 2-year deal. I guess we'll bump up the guaranteed money just a bit, see if he takes that, and yes, he will be resigning. From there, we just jump to the end of the season. So you already saw the 5-2 start because I mentioned that we lost to Baltimore. So there we become 6-2 against the Patriots, 7-2 there. Then we fall to 7-3, pick up another couple wins. Now we're sitting at 9-2 going into our bye week. We would then proceed to lose 4 of our last 5, only beating Philadelphia. We lost to Miami 10-14, Dallas 17-18, the Giants 12-28, and the Panthers 22-28. I have no idea what happened to our offense in these last few games. Luckily though, it does not cost us a spot in the playoffs or even the division. There was a 3-way tie, somehow we came away with the tiebreaker, we win the division with a 10-7 record and get in as the 4 seed. Well, seeing Gilmore's regular season stats kind of eliminates any chance that Ridder was the one starting those last few games, so Gilmore, what the hell happened? He finished with 4,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Running the ball, alright, at first I was really confused because it was saying there was no information available. Breece Hall goes for a little bit under 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns on the year. Gilmore apparently ran in for 6 himself. And then receiving, Garrett Wilson, 84 catches, over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. Caleb Cassidy with 91 catches, 942 yards and 3 scores. Rondale Moore got 8 touchdowns. And Chandler Heller, the rookie receiver, 54 catches, 743 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now let's see how the defense played here. Leading the team in tackles is going to be Drew Sanders. In sacks, it looks like Chase Young got 14.5, Quentin Williams got 11. This is why I paid both of you. Jermaine Johnson got 7.5. Interceptions, Drew Sanders led the team with a total of 4. Last year we made the playoffs and we're actually in this exact part of the bracket because we were the 5 seed taking on the 4 seed. Let's see if we can get our first win in the playoffs in this rebuild. And this is a much different defensive performance than we got last season. We get the win 24-10 and we will survive to move on to the next round. Well, I was really hoping that the lower seeds would all pull out victories, that way we could have another home game, but that is not going to happen as we get to go on the road to take on Indianapolis. And it looks like this one ended up being an absolute shootout as we get the win 46-32. We are now headed to the AFC Championship game. Well, I was kind of sad we didn't get a home playoff game in the divisional round, but because the Steelers have upset the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs, we will have a home game for the AFC Championship, and the NFC side it is Green Bay against Philadelphia. And fortunately for us, this game was never even close. We are headed to the Super Bowl because of a final score of 42-17. We just completely dominated them the entire game. While our game was a blowout, the NFC Championship was apparently a dogfight the entire way as Green Bay picks up the win 21-20, so we will get to take on the Green Bay Packers in this year's Super Bowl. We will actually jump in and watch this game. With 3 minutes to go, we hold a 6-point lead. We just need to chew down the clock. Going deep downfield on the first play of the drive, that one's going to fall incomplete. So much for chewing down the clock. We immediately try to take a shot downfield. That's going to lead to a 2nd and 10. Still back at our own 10-yard line. Gilmore back in a shotgun set. Will drop back to pass. He's going to fire this downfield and another incomplete pass. I don't know why we're not running the ball. A possible 3-and-out here. A 3rd and 10. And then Green Bay would get the ball back with a chance to take the lead. Gilmore out of shotgun. Will drop back to pass. Dropping farther back now. Throws on the run. He finds his man, but it will be a 4th and 1, and we'll punt it away. Jordan Love and the Packers offense still have the 2-minute warning and all 3 timeouts from their own 37. He'll drop back to pass, going downfield, and that's incomplete, but there is a flag, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be defensive pass interference because that was a really weird animation that I just saw. So that moves them up to the 43-yard line with 2:04 to go. Love back in shotgun again. We'll drop back. A quick throw to the outside, caught by Josh Jacobs, who was immediately brought down. That will take us to the 2-minute warning. From his own 44-yard line, we'll drop back to pass. Going downfield, he's got a man open. That's Christian Watson who fumbles the ball, and Sauce Gardner has picked it up. Sauce just go down. He's running to the outside, down the sideline, and brought down to the 38-yard line with 1:50 to go. But Green Bay does still have all 3 of their timeouts. Hopefully right now, all we do is run the ball and get out of here with a win. With 1:50 to go, we're going to send our tight end in motion. Just give this to Breece Hall. And that's exactly where it's going, to the outside. And Hall will have the first down and a lot more. Finally, Met breaks that tackle and is brought down to the 21. But he would go out of bounds, so it stops the clock with 1:44 to go. Now Gilmore's going to come back out under center and give it right back to Breece Hall up the middle for another first down run. This one down to the 6-yard line. Green Bay would have an injury, so it burns their first timeout. 1:40 to go on a 1st and goal. Breece Hall is still the running back. We give it to him to the outside, and Breece Hall into the end zone. Touchdown, Jets. We could have just run down the clock, but I guess a 2-score lead is cool too. We are going to line up to go for 2 and try to make it a 14-point game, though. 1:37 left. And to the end zone will be caught by Rondale Moore, and we're up 28-14. Now Green Bay is going to need to score quickly. 1st and 10 with 1:32 to go. Love will drop back to pass, going downfield, caught by his man for a gain of about 6 yards. Now they still have 2 timeouts, but we'll see if they actually end up using them here. Out of a shotgun set again, Love will drop back one more time. He's going to throw to the outside, who is caught and immediately brought down. So the clock will continue to run. They do not burn a timeout. Under a minute to go in the game. 3rd and 3. He's going deep downfield. That one is going to be knocked away, I believe, by DJ Reed. So now it's a 4th and 3 out of an I formation. Handoff up the middle, and they will get the first down, keeping their hopes, their very, very slim hopes alive. About 30 seconds to go here in the Super Bowl. Love going downfield again, finds his man for another first down. They do burn that 2nd timeout finally. 28 seconds to go in the game. With a 5-wide set here. Love will take the snap and throw to the outside. That'll be caught and immediately brought down. They have to burn that final timeout. And now you really can't afford to do stuff like that anymore. You have to go downfield. 2nd and 5. 24 seconds to go. Love under pressure. Rolling to the outside. He will throw this one away. 21 seconds away until this rebuild is complete. Love out of shotgun. Will draw back to pass. Under pressure. Hit as he's throwing. And that one will just go out of bounds. Now a 4th and 5. It comes down to this. Love back in shotgun with 2 running backs in the backfield. Will looks to pass again. Going deep downfield, finding his man for the first down, but nowhere near out of bounds, and they will not have enough time. The New York Jets are once again Super Bowl champions, and our rebuild is complete after just 4 years. And only 3 years into Anthony Gilmore's current career, or I guess his career in general, not current career. But either way, yeah, we get a Super Bowl win here in Season 4 of this rebuild, despite the fact that we nearly had a meltdown at the end of the regular season, losing 4 of our last 5. I would say we definitely made up for it.